What's going on, my fellow Jedi and Padawans? Welcome back to another Jedi gaming video. Thank you guys so much for coming back to the channel, and if you guys are new, welcome. Today we are talking about a Void Titan build utilizing the Stronghold Exotic Gauntlets that give us some juice when we're using swords. Now, these exotic arms right here are so versatile and have been buffed recently. So these allow us to get restoration ×2 depending on how long that we block for any subclass, not just solar. So you'll see it is very hard to die inside of this build, especially with the Void. Since we're getting Devour, Overshield, and Restoration, it is absolutely gnarly. So starting out right here with our abilities, aspects, and fragments, we're building this out heavily for that defense. So we got that 100 on the resilience for this, and we're going to be creating void breaches, overshields, like I said, and that Devour for us. So we're using Ward of Dawn to give us that nice little protection inside the Ward of Dawn bubble, as well as some nice juicy weapon damage for us as well as our fellow guardians. Now for abilities, barricade, totally up to you. You rally or towering, same with your movement. You can use high lift, catapult, or strafe. Now for me, I personally like shield throw with this build, as well as vortex grenade. You can kind of pick and choose whatever you want, but these are the two that I personally choose, and vortex is definitely the best grenade in my opinion for PvE and the void subclasses. Moving on to our two aspects, we're using Bastion and Controlled Demolition, so they play together a little bit with volatility, giving us health as well as overshield. So Bastion right here, when we cast our super, we grant overshield to nearby allies. Throwing down that barricade grants overshield to ourselves and nearby allies. Empowering it, enable it to slowly regenerate the overshield of allies bunkered behind it, extending the duration of that void overshield. So survivability, and with this build and the strongholds, blocking with that sword, restoration, overshield, Devour is absolutely crazy. On top of that, using controlled demo, so hitting targets with our void abilities or volatile explosions makes them volatile themselves, further damaging, causes them to explode, granting us and nearby allies health. So we're going to be in the thick of it with this build, creating volatile rounds on our sword, giving us that overshield as well. So we're going to be able to throw down the Bastion and our shields to get overshield, then our abilities and our sword with that restoration being up close and personal, we're gonna get this to proc very easily as well. For the fragments right here, Echo of Reprisal, Final Blows surrounded by combatants grant us super energy. Like I said, going to be up close and personal with this build, so this procs very easily. Next, we're going to have Echo of Remnants, so that Vortex Grenade has an increased duration. Third, Echo of Instability, those grenade final blows is going to create volatile rounds for our two void weapons that we're going to be using, allowing us to proc Controlled Demolitionist even more often, giving us that health back on those volatile explosions. And last but not least, Echo of Starvation, picking up void breaches or orbs of power grant us Devour. So we're going to be creating both in a bunch of different ways, so this will be again easy to proc, and we're going to be getting Devour with overshield and restoration from the exotic arms, so survivability is S tier for sure. Moving on to the weapons with this build, I was using Malfeasance on this with harsh language. This has Wellspring Repulsor Brace, giving us the ability for overshield as well, plus the defeats with it grant ability energy, so our grenade, melee, as well as our shield. Now for swords, these are some of my favorites that I have. Falling Guillotine is what I use with this build, and definitely one of my go-tos. For Strand, we got the Thin Precipice, this Zephyr for Stasis. We have the other half right here with Eager Edge, as well as Half Truce, both for Arc as well as Void. And then our Solar Sword right here in the Lament just seems like the favorites and my go-to for swords just in general. But with this build, Falling Guillotine, Relentless Whirlwind, one, absolutely able to juice everything inside of bosses, champions, rank and file, obviously, and then another way for us to get an overshield. So this is what I have it set up with, and you can see from the gameplay, it's absolutely nasty. On to artifact mods for the Season of the Deep. This build is going to be great no matter what season we're taking it into because of the strongholds, that restoration, our aspects, and fragments. But this season, with these void mods on our artifact, even better. So I was using Unstoppable for that Maleficence, as well as authorized void and melee mods specifically. Now we have Unto the Breach, Protective Breach, as well as Supernova. Very, very important for the build, making it an S++ build. So defeating those void debuffed targets creates void breaches when we have a void subclass. Picking up those void breaches gives us an overshield or refreshes our existing one. So plays into the survivability of the build. Plus we're going to pick these up to grant ourselves Devour, and picking up void breaches causes your next void damage to create a weakening pulse, allowing us to just keep kicking this in as a little feedback loop of volatility, weakening, creating void breaches for ourselves, proccing Devour, as well as restoration because of those exotic gauntlets. Moving on to our armor and the mods that we are using with them. So on our helmet, we're going to be using a Void Siphon with Heavy Ammo Finder, so we can keep that sword up at all times. Obviously, if you're using another subclass, but specifically with this build, I'm using Void Siphon. So like I said, if you're using Strand, Stasis, whatever, you can switch your Siphon onto that for the build. But heavy ammo definitely, so you can keep your sword up and full at all times. Now, right here, these strongholds, these things are absolutely nasty with that clenched fist. Maximize guard stat on equipped swords. You take reduced damage while blocking with the sword, and it is super reduced. Rapidly damaging targets after blocking with the sword grants restoration for a duration determined on the number of shots blocked. So when you're doing the blocking, you will see times 100, times 50, whatever it is, in the bottom left hand corner for the guard of the blocked shots. Once you hit that times 100, get a couple defeats, you'll have that restoration times 2 for like 15 seconds, which gives you your health back when it is procced. So restoration with Devour is absolutely disgusting, the combination of the two. And on top of that, we're getting Overshield from the Void Breaches, as well as Controlled Demolitionist. Now for the mods that we have on this, creating even more Orbs of Power from Firepower, as well as Bolstering Detonation, Focusing Strike, finally got re-enabled, so we're granting class ability when we cause damage with our melee, as well as our grenade, allowing us to throw down our barricade even more often, giving us that overshield even more often. Now, back to our chest piece right here, melee damage resistance, since we're going to be up close and personal with this build, like I have said, using this to take less damage from point blank range. Concussive dampener, switch this out depending if you want this or sniper for the content you are going into. Then harmonic resonance, so you can switch this between any of the burns, solar, void, arc, stasis. So very nice addition. On our boots right here, elemental charge, we're going to become charged with a light from collecting those void breaches from this build, while using that charge with light for the increase in void weapon damage. So both our grenade launcher as well as our sword getting a nice increase to damage right here, about 17% just from these two. And then on our class item, bomber, as well as powerful attraction, time dilation, so the time dilation allows these to last a little bit longer. Powerful attraction, when we throw down our barricade, all those orbs of power, we're going to collect them to get that Devour to proc. And then bomber as well. When we throw down that barricade, we're gonna get a little bit of our grenade energy. So the feedback loop of this is absolutely insane. Super easy to use, super effective for staying alive with restoration, devour, overshields. Like I said, the end game potential of this is absolutely nasty, and it is versatile. Can really use it on any subclass and give yourself restoration on any subclass. When you're on solar, you can keep that restoration going, but on the other subclasses, you got to wait for it to run out to continue or get a new set to proc from guarding. So be careful of that, but that is the only thing. This is a very versatile set of gauntlets for us. Going to be making some more builds in the future with these, depending on what seasonal artifact mods that we have as well, and just doing a solar one in general since it plays to that with restoration. So thank you guys again for that support. Truly appreciate it. Don't forget to hit the bell and subscribe. Join the Discord so you don't miss out on any of these builds, any of the live streams. We're going to be doing a lot of help next season with the reprised raid coming back, so definitely be on the lookout for that. Truly appreciate the support. I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.